When I lost my job, my family said, "You're dead weight. We only help winners." I slept in my car for months, then sold my app to a major tech firm. Guess who called me first? My dad. Guess who I put on hold? Forever? Hey there. We're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. I was sitting in the kitchen, still in the same dress shirt I'd worn to work that morning, when my dad walked in and tossed a letter onto the table like it was nothing. "Guess that's the end of that," he said without even looking at me. I picked it up. It was the termination letter from my company. Apparently, they'd called the house because I wasn't picking up. My phone had died sometime between pacing in the park and staring at the bus stop like it had answers. I hadn't even made it home yet when they dropped the hammer. I just sat there, reading that one line over and over. Position eliminated due to restructuring. That was it. 5 years, late nights, weekends on call, and all they gave me was a single sentence. And then my dad added his own. "You always said you'd be a success. Guess the market didn't agree, huh?" I didn't say anything. I just folded the letter and slipped it into my bag like it was some kind of receipt. My mom leaned around the corner from the hallway, drying her hands on a dish towel, and asked, "So, what's the plan now?" That was her way of saying, "You're not staying here." My brother, Derek, chimed in from the couch. He didn't even pause the game he was playing. "Hey, maybe now you can finally focus on that dumb little app you kept talking about." They all laughed. That's when I realized something. They weren't surprised. They were waiting for this. Like it confirmed something they already believed about me. I told them I just needed a few weeks. Just to sort things out. Update my resume, hit the job boards. I even offered to pitch in with groceries in the meantime. My mom just said, "We only help people who are helping themselves." The next day, I came back from the unemployment office to find my stuff in the garage. Not packed, just dumped. My laptop, charger, one pair of sneakers on top of a box of mismatched socks. I asked if I could at least crash on the couch while I figured things out. My dad looked at me and said, "You're not a kid anymore. It's time to carry your own weight. And right now, you're just dead weight." I swear I didn't even recognize his face when he said it. So I left. Not with a plan. Not with some bold idea of revenge or making it big. Just with a backpack, a laptop, a cracked phone, and the last bit of pride I had. I parked my car in the far corner of a 24-hour gym parking lot. Locked the doors. Pulled my hoodie tight over my head. And just sat there, staring out at the rain tapping on the windshield like it was mocking me. That first night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared. I just couldn't stop replaying their words. Deadweight. A few years ago, I built this tiny prototype for a productivity tool. An AI-powered habit builder. Nothing special, but I'd been toying with the code off and on. My old manager said it was cool, but not marketable. I shelved it. That night in the car, though, I pulled out my laptop. Battery at 43%. No Wi-Fi. No coffee. Just the glow of the screen, my fingers freezing, and the code I hadn't touched in 2 years. And I started working on it again. Not to prove them wrong. Not yet. I just needed to prove to myself that I wasn't as useless as they made me feel. By the end of that first week, I had rewritten the entire backend architecture of the app. I'd lost 6 pounds, had a weird rash on my neck from sleeping in the same hoodie, and hadn't spoken to a single person besides the barista at the gas station across the street. I found a public library that didn't kick people out if they used the wall outlets. I charged my laptop during the day, worked all night, and showered at the gym pretending I still had a membership. I kept my LinkedIn up to date, kept applying for jobs, kept lying to myself that someone from my old company would reach out with a new opportunity. But no one did. After 2 weeks, my cousin Jenny texted me. She'd heard I'd moved out and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I said yes. I almost cried when I saw her walk in with 2 muffins and a hot coffee. She asked if I was okay. I said I was just between things. Halfway through the conversation, I finally worked up the nerve. "Hey, do you think I could crash at your place for a couple nights? Just until I land something." She looked uncomfortable. Said she'd have to ask her parents. She texted me later that night. "Sorry, my dad says it wouldn't be a good idea. He thinks you need to figure this out on your own." Same words, different voice. That was the moment I stopped asking for help. That weekend, I pulled the last of my savings and bought a $10 portable hotspot plan. Just enough to upload a demo of the app to a small dev forum I used to lurk on. It got one upvote. Just one. But the guy who left it? He worked for a small business accelerator. He left a comment that said, "If this is legit, message me." That message changed everything. But at the time, I didn't know that. All I knew was, I wasn't going to sleep in that car forever. And if no one was going to believe in me, I'd build something so good they'd have no choice. The message from that guy, the one who left the upvote, kept me going for days. His name was Alan. Worked with a startup incubator 2 states over. He asked a few technical questions, and I answered within the hour. Then he asked if I had a pitch deck. I didn't. So I spent the next 48 hours straight building one from scratch, sleeping in my car with my laptop open on my chest, recharging at the library, writing copy in the margins of napkins during my gas station ramen breaks. The pitch deck looked like trash, but it told the truth. No buzzwords, just screenshots, market gaps, raw data, and a short paragraph about how this app helped me survive the worst few weeks of my life. Alan emailed me back. "Not bad. We're doing a virtual pitch round next month. You in?" That one line kept me going like caffeine. Every night, I would sit in the corner of that gym parking lot and talk to myself like I was already pitching. I practiced my voice, timed my pauses, even memorized stats I didn't have to say out loud. I knew this was my one shot, and if I choked, I'd have to go back to whatever home meant now. 2 days before the pitch, I tried to crash at Jenny's again. I didn't even want to stay the night, just needed somewhere quiet to rehearse and charge up. I didn't even get to ask. Her mom answered the door, saw me, and said, "Your parents told us everything. You made your choices. Don't drag Jenny into them." She shut the door. I stood there for a full minute, then walked 3 blocks to the nearest open Wi-Fi spot and re-recorded my pitch video with the wind howling behind me and my voice shaking from the cold. Next day, I showed up to the virtual pitch round at a co-working space that let me book 1 free hour as a trial. The call started with 5 faces on screen. One dropped off midway through. Another yawned while I spoke. But Alan stayed. He was nodding. After it ended, I packed up my stuff, thanked the front desk guy, and sat in my car. I didn't hear back that night. Or the next. I figured it was over. So I went back to what I could control. The code. I refined the backend, added a dashboard, integrated habit loops, and personal progress AI suggestions. It was actually kind of addictive to use. The irony was brutal. A motivation app helping its creator stay alive when he could barely keep his head up. Then Alan emailed, "You're in. It's not funding, but we'll give you 8 weeks of mentorship, tools, and access to our network. Can you be in the city by Monday?" That meant moving. Again, I checked my account. $164.23 left. Not enough for gas and food and a place to stay. So I did something I hated. I called my dad. I told him I had a shot at something, that I needed just a few $100 to make it out there. I said I'd pay him back. He asked, "Is this one of those fake startup things?" I said no. Told him a real firm was backing it, that this was the chance I needed. He paused, then said, "You'll just waste it." Click. No good luck. No maybe. Just that. I remember sitting there, phone on my lap, watching a group of high school kids skate past the car like life was still simple. That night, I sold my last decent item, a mechanical keyboard I'd kept since college, to some guy on Craigslist for $90. I drove 5 hours to the city with the gas light on the whole second half of the way, parked near the incubator, and slept in the car again. This time on a side street where the streetlights buzzed so loud I couldn't tell if the sound was outside or in my head. But that Monday, I showed up. Hair a mess, shirt wrinkled, breath like stale coffee. But I showed up. And when Alan saw me, he didn't say, "You look like you've been sleeping in your car." He just said, "Welcome to week 1. It was the first time in months someone looked at me like I wasn't broken. Inside that small office space, I saw whiteboards covered in ideas, groups of 2 or 3 people huddled over laptops, people solving problems like the world depended on it. I hadn't felt like I belonged anywhere in a long time. But that room, it felt like oxygen. That was the moment something shifted in me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something. And the next time someone in my family said my name, they'd remember exactly who they threw out. 3 weeks into the incubator program, I had a working beta version. The app wasn't flashy. No fancy animations, no sleek branding, no buzzword-heavy launch posts. Just a simple interface and a brutal little algorithm that held you accountable. It tracked your habits, but more than that, it adapted to you. Missed a goal twice in a row? It didn't shame you. It adjusted. Missed again? It dug deeper, suggested smaller wins, and rewired the habit from the inside out. Alan called it the anti-hustle productivity tool. It stuck. I called it Glassjar. Because when you're broke, scattered, and losing time, it feels like your life is falling through cracks. The app made sure every drop counted. We launched it quietly on Product Hunt. No paid ads. Just a basic landing page, a testimonial from another founder in the cohort, and a personal blog post I wrote at 3 a.m. about sleeping in my car and building something when everyone else gave up on me. It hit 12,000 downloads in 48 hours. I thought it was a glitch. The next week, a mental health YouTuber made a video about it. Then a teacher on TikTok showed her students using it. Then Reddit picked it up. Within a month, we had 100,000 users. That's when I got the first message from my brother. Yo, is this app yours? It's all over my feed, LOL. No apology. No asking how I was doing. Just LOL. I didn't reply. Then my dad sent an email. Not even to congratulate me. Just a subject line that read, "Business opportunity, call me." The body was 2 sentences. Saw your name pop up. Let's talk if you're looking for some serious structure and grown-up guidance. Like I hadn't built all of it from a goddamn Corolla. I stared at that message for a long time. I didn't respond. But part of me still hoped. Not for their approval. Just recognition. A little humanity. Maybe even regret. Instead, 2 days later, my mom posted a photo on Facebook. My brother holding up a certificate for some online finance course, smiling like he just cured cancer. The caption said, "So proud of Derek, always chasing success." No mention of the app. No mention of me. And that was it. I snapped. I screenshotted every text, every email, every voicemail I'd saved. From them. From my cousin. From my dad. I made a folder called "Remember Who Closed the Door." Not to get revenge. To stay focused. Back in the incubator, I pitched a new feature, community challenges. Small groups encouraging each other through shared goals. Alan liked it. One investor hated it, said it was too soft. 2 weeks later, a VC firm that backed Calm and Headspace reached out. They loved the soft part. We had our first funding round, $1.4 million seed. My cut wasn't huge. Most of it went to building the team, scaling, cloud infra, etc. But I paid myself $6,500 a month. More than I'd ever made at my old job. I rented a studio. Clean walls. Tall windows. Cheap furniture, but all mine. No one could kick me out of it. First night there, I ate pizza on the floor and watched the blinking city lights through the window like they were stars. Then I bought a new phone. Same number. New power. The next morning, my dad called again. This time, I picked up. Didn't say anything. Just waited. He cleared his throat. Tried to sound casual. Heard you've been doing well. Everyone's talking about your thing, your app. Real proud of you, son. I said nothing. We should talk sometime. Maybe get dinner. Got some folks I'd love for you to meet. Maybe bring you into a few rooms, now that you're back on your feet. Then he laughed a little and added, "Remember when I told you that the world doesn't wait for anyone? Guess you proved me wrong." Still quiet. And then he said it. "So what do you think?" I finally answered, "Let me call you right back." I never did. Instead, I added that voicemail to the folder. Remember who closed the door. By month 6, Glassjar wasn't just doing well. It was everywhere. We weren't viral. We were sticky. People weren't just downloading it. They were using it. Daily retention was off the charts. Teachers, therapists, even HR departments started reaching out. A school in Oregon emailed us saying they were using the app in a classroom with at-risk students. One teacher wrote, "They finally feel like they're winning at something." That one hit me, because I remembered what it felt like to not win, to not even matter. We hired 3 people from the incubator class, a designer, a back-end dev, and someone way smarter than me who handled data like it was Tetris. We ran lean, stayed scrappy, and kept growing. A few months later, we got an email from a VP at a mid-tier tech company. He didn't say much, just asked for a casual meeting to discuss synergies. Translation, they wanted in. We took the meeting. 3 execs, 1 lawyer, 2 hours of coffee and buzzwords. But when they finally dropped the number, it went quiet. $7.2 million. They buy Glassjar, keep the team, and let me stay on as product lead with full creative control and a fat stock bonus. Alan looked at me, said, "This is the part where you either take the offer or build something bigger." I signed, not because I was scared to build it further, but because I was ready to build more. And this gave me the fuel. The deal closed 2 weeks later. They cut the first check into our holding account. My name was on the press release. LinkedIn blew up. So did my inbox. Old co-workers, ex-classmates, people who hadn't said a word in years suddenly remembered I existed. Even my high school economics teacher emailed. You always had a quiet fire. My dad didn't call this time. He texted, congrats. About time the world saw what I always saw in you. Let's get dinner soon. My mom sent me a voice note. Told me how she always knew I'd find my way back. Said they were planning a small get-together for my dad's 60th birthday, and that everyone would love to see me. I stared at that message. It wasn't just fake. It was rehearsed, like they'd practiced it in front of a mirror. Then I got a message from Derek, the one who laughed when I got fired. Yo, we good? I told them you'd crush it one day. Let's catch up, bro. He added a wink emoji at the end, like it was a joke. That same night, I took myself out to dinner. Alone. Steak, wine, dessert. No laptop, no distractions. Just a quiet toast. To the man who got kicked out of his family, slept in a car, coated through exhaustion, and still found his way to the damn table. And then I made a decision. I was going to go to my dad's birthday. But not for him. For me. Because sometimes, the most satisfying revenge is just walking into a room they thought you'd never be in again. The invitation said, formal dinner, family only, no speeches. That last part made me smile. I RSVP'd yes, without a second thought. I wore a charcoal suit. Clean cut, no tie. Subtle flex. The kind of quiet wealth you don't need to announce. Pulled up to the venue in a black electric car I bought 3 days earlier. Not a sports car. Not flashy. Just grown. The restaurant was a private room in a swanky hotel downtown. The kind of place my family used to say was too much for people like us. When I walked in, all eyes turned. My mom stood up first. Arms already open like we hadn't spoken in years. My brother came in with a yo and tried to high-five me like we were best friends. My dad stayed seated, sipping from a glass like he was some kind of royalty. Glad you made it, he said, like he wasn't the same man who once threw my bags into the garage like they were trash. Dinner was fake laughs and backhanded compliments. You've really grown into yourself. We always knew you had potential, just needed to push harder. Bet you're glad we were tough on you now, huh? Every sentence had a hook in it. Every word was dipped in self-congratulation. And I smiled, just nodded, played along, until the end of the meal. That's when the waitress brought out the cake. She asked if anyone wanted to say a few words before they lit the candles. The table looked at my dad. He waved her off. But then he looked at me. Why don't you say something, he said. You've had quite a year, haven't you? The whole room looked at me, expecting something polished and thankful. Something that ended with, thanks, Dad. I couldn't have done it without you. So I stood up, walked around the table, picked up the mic from the DJ's little stand near the corner, and said, before we celebrate, I want to play something for everyone. I pulled out my phone, hit play, and held the speaker up to the mic. It was his voicemail, the one from a year and a half ago. You'll just waste it. You're dead weight. Grow up. The room froze. No one spoke. No one could speak. I looked directly at my father. That's what you told me. When I asked for help. When I still believed family meant something. Someone at the table whispered, what the hell? I wasn't angry. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't emotional. I was just calm. Almost peaceful. I continued. I slept in my car while all of you laughed. I built something while you ignored me. And now? Now that there's money, now that there's attention, now I'm family again. I looked at my mom. She looked down. Then at my brother. He turned red and sipped his wine like it might hide him. I set the phone down, walked back to my seat, and said one last thing. Don't worry. I won't embarrass you anymore. I'm leaving. But just so we're clear, I didn't come back home. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and walked out. No one followed. No one said a word. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt something leave my chest. Like a pressure valve just released. They never had power over me again. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. 12 were from my mom. 3 from my dad. 1 from Derek. And 1 from an unknown number that turned out to be my aunt. The one who never once replied to any of my messages when I was jobless, homeless, and hoping for just a spare blanket and a couch. My voicemail box. Full. The first message was my dad's voice. Calm, but strained. You embarrassed us. You turned a private family moment into what, a stunt? You think that's maturity? You think you're better than us now? Next message, my mom. Her voice cracked halfway through. We just wanted to celebrate your father's birthday. You didn't have to make it about you. But I didn't reply. Not to a single one. I opened the group chat that I hadn't touched in over a year. The same one where I was removed after making things awkward when I asked for help. They'd added me back in. Someone renamed it Family First. The irony nearly knocked the wind out of me. So I wrote one message. Just one. I'll always be family. But you're not mine anymore. Then I left the chat again. Blocked them all. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. Because here's the truth no one talks about. Cutting someone off isn't about hatred. It's about protecting the last pieces of yourself they haven't already chipped away. A month later, Glassjar hit 1 million users. I got invited to speak at a mental health conference in Toronto. The night before my talk, I walked into my hotel room and collapsed on the bed. I stared at the ceiling for 10 full minutes before I realized I wasn't anxious. I wasn't doubting myself. I wasn't fighting anyone's voice in my head. I was just okay. And that's when I got the final voicemail from my dad. I messed up. I know that now. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I was scared. Scared of seeing you fail. Because if you failed, I'd feel like I failed. That's not an excuse. Just call me. Please. You'll always be my son. I saved the voicemail. Didn't delete it. Didn't respond. Instead, I made a donation that week. $100,000 to a youth shelter program that supports kids who get kicked out of their homes. The ones labeled lazy, useless, ungrateful. The ones like me. I asked if I could remain anonymous. But I gave them one note for the plaque they wanted to hang in the main room. For the ones they called deadweight. You are not disposable. Keep building. That plaque is still there. Every so often, someone sends me a photo of it. Some kid, standing underneath it, holding their first job acceptance letter or high school diploma. Some reminder that I didn't just survive. I outgrew them. And when my phone rings now, and it's a number I recognize from the past, I don't answer. I put it on hold. Forever. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.